Ryan Neiman, Brian Wilson, Mary Catherine Ham, today's newsmakers, and you. The Morning Majority, 6:30.
Good morning, 7:37. You're with the Morning Majority, and let's get right to Jake Tapper, senior White House correspondent for ABC News. He is in Dubuque, Iowa, because why? Well, that's where the president is. He covers the president. Good idea to be where the president is. And Jake, my first question has to be about this bus tour, because it's being said that it's an official tour, not a political campaign tour. The cost of this is being picked up by the taxpayer. But I got to tell you, when I watch what's being said and I look at the events, it sort of looks like a campaign tour. Is he being asked a lot of questions about, whether or not it's appropriate for the taxpayer to pick up the cost of this particular trip?
Well, he's not being asked a lot of questions by the White House press corps because we're not getting any questions.
Yeah, there's that.
Look, I'll say this. This happens a lot with presidents. I'm not excusing it, but, we went through this with George W. Bush as well. And there's always a question about campaign stops versus official White House duties. It seems as though he is trying to walk the line by not really using the word Republican, not naming any of the potential Republican hopefuls by name, although he certainly alluded to Rick Perry, and he's talked about the Republican debate. Look, he's walking a line, and I'm sure for a lot of people he's crossing it, and there are legitimate questions to be asked. But, it's an inherently political position, the presidency, especially when you're coming up for re-election, and this is the nature of the beast. That's not to excuse it, but I'm just saying I'm sure we'll be saying the same thing, 4 years into the term of President Bachmann or whoever. All
right, let me ask you the question, though. A $1.1 million armored bus. Has anybody gotten a look at the inside of that thing?
Not me.
You guys are being kept at a pretty good distance, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. In fact, when you said that we are in Dubuque because that's what the president is, no, he isn't. He's in Decorah, Iowa. We overnighted in Dubuque, and we'll meet up with him in Piasta, Iowa. But no, we're not exactly kept in the same hotel suite with him.
Any reason why he chose to go to Iowa for this tour?
Well, I'm sure it's just a coincidence that it comes just 2 days after the Iowa straw poll.
Yeah, I just...
Look, this is the Midwest is obviously important to the country, and politically it's important. I can't state unequivocally why he's here, other than this is a rural economic tour, and certainly Minnesota, Iowa, and Illinois are rural states. There was obviously a lot. President Obama's presidential political career was launched in Iowa. It was his big victory in the Iowa caucus that propelled him to the Democratic nomination. He won the state, which generally leans Democratic in presidential elections, although it's considered a swing state. And it's an important state for rural communities. Look, his Secretary of Agriculture is a former governor of Iowa, and he's here too. So I'm sure there's a good political reason, and there's a good, official reason as well.
Obviously, a big change-up post-straw poll.
Mary Catherine?
Yeah, hey.
Hi, Mary Catherine. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Obviously, there was a big change-up in the sort of front runners in the Republican race when Rick Perry jumps in. Bachmann wins in Iowa. What's your sense on the ground in Iowa of how people are reacting to that? There was some talk that people would be mad at Rick Perry because he announced on the Saturday. What was your sense from people you talked to?
Well, before it happened, before the straw poll, there was a lot of, I wouldn't call it resentment, but, a lot of Iowa Republicans with whom I spoke at the straw poll and at the state fair, they just want candidates to come to Iowa and talk to them and run. So whether it was Rick Perry or Sarah Palin, if you've ever met Senator Chuck Grassley, you get an idea of what an average Iowan is like.
Right.
And they just don't want any nonsense. They want people to run, they want people to come, they want people to enter the race the way everybody else has entered the race. That said, it doesn't seem like it's going to hurt Rick Perry in the long term. And if Sarah Palin runs, I don't think it would hurt her either in terms of attitudes of Iowans. I will say that Governor Perry turned a lot of heads in the political world with his comments about Ben Bernanke and with his comments about when asked if President Obama loves his country, he said, "I don't know. You'll have to ask him." I do think there are now starting to be some questions about his shoot from the hip style, and whether or not. I mean, I saw a former official of the Bush White House saying that Governor Perry's comments about Head Chair Ben Bernanke were unpresidential, which is a pretty harsh thing to say. So we'll see the reaction to that.
All right, you're hosting this week again?
I am, and I can tell you that we will have an exclusive, the first Sunday show interview with former Governor John Huntsman.
Cool.
And we are planning for a lot more than that in addition, and we hope you'll tune in. We actually obviously had some news on our show last Sunday with Tim Pawlenty dropping out of the race on our show, and we hope you'll continue to watch.
Now, you're going to be on the road Sunday as well, so are you there, or are you going to be back in D.C.?
I think I'll be back in D.C.
Okay. You hope you'll be back in D.C., I guess.
I hope I'll be back in D.C.
It sounds like you're not absolutely sure about that.
Real quick, I have a question that's going to sound like it's not a serious question, Jake, but it is. Okay, so if you go to the Iowa State Fair as a candidate, and I've been thinking how I would deal with this, and you're offered a corn dog.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to get an awful, shall we say, awkward photo taken of you eating said corn dog, as Rick Perry and Michelle Bachmann did this week. But here's the trick. If they give it to you, you can't say no, because then you're that guy who turned down a corn dog at the Iowa State Fair. If you eat it sideways or with a fork, you're going to be an elitist who ate it wrong. What is the solution to this politically?
If I knew that, then I would be a high-priced political consultant. I just have to say, food is always risky. Whether it's President Ford eating a tamale in the husk.
I thought that was Carter, but yeah.
Senator Kerry asking for a Philly cheesesteak with Swiss cheese.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
The food is always a risk. And certainly the corn dog photos prove that point.
All right, Jake. Good to talk as always. We appreciate it.